You got the time. Forbes Riley is dynamic. She helps people. You've lost 140 pounds. She's eclectic. She's a storyteller. And I talk about her in the third person because sometimes I can't believe that I get to be that person. All the vegetables are in that one glass? That's actually good. I have made for you a gourmet panini, but it's so easy.
I love it.
So I'm the $2 billion host. That's wild. Okay, so we're here at the HSN because this has been home for a very long time, like 25 years. That's showing right now how many minutes they've been on air, how many they've sold. I need to see a number of 60,000. Oh, okay. Remember, I don't sell products. I provide solutions. And that is exactly what I do. And welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to be part of this summit. I am recording this on my own and doing the very best I can. I love music. I love good intros. And hopefully you guys are as excited to meet me as I am to meet you, at least virtually. I have completely embraced this new way of living, and I love doing this virtually. I used to travel around the world 200 days a year and meet lots of people, hug lots of people, did lots of great speeches, but I got to tell you, nothing really compares right now to spending a lot of quality time with my 17-year-old twins. This is their senior year. And if you think life is weird for you, try being a senior in high school. Yeah, the world has definitely gone crazy for them. And I'm enjoying being mom. It's kind of wonderful. A little unusual, but working through it. I've also launched a training online that I am also embrace the fact that I can now connect with people around the world. No one has to buy an airline ticket or a hotel or bad food or Uber drivers or whatever it happens to be. We can literally turn it on and be right there. So I'm actually very excited to be with you today and to be part of this summit, you know, especially when it comes to women. I happen to be a woman. Yeah, I think I became one early in my life. And I understand a lot of the trials and tribulations of being not only a woman, but a working mom and somebody who is a disruptor and an advocate for change and equality, even more than equality. So I'm excited to share a couple of my nuggets with you. I'm going to call this presentation Permission to Succeed. I want to make sure I got nothing in my teeth as I do that. You never know. That's the worst part of doing this. And for those of you who don't know me, I didn't do a physical presentation of slides and things. I wasn't sure how to do all that to make it really work. But when you look at me, you go, wow, she's successful. And I am. And I own that. And maybe for the first time in my life, I really embrace that. And I think it really came out because I am teaching more and more and helping other people get to their level of greatness. For me, I started out life as an ugly, goofy, awkward little kid. I had two very loving parents. But when I was around 8 years old, I seemed to have walked into a baseball bat, had a very odd, ugly, broken nose. 8 years of my life I spent in full braces. See that? Yeah, see that nice smile? 8 years. I don't know what my orthodontist from hell was thinking, but you don't do that to a little girl. And at some point, I had a tongue thruster. It's like, you're a fork in my mouth, and you're talking like this. I ended up in speech therapy. All I know is it made for a very unusual childhood. I had very frizzy hair. We grew up on Long Island with lots of humidity, and fast food had just hit my hometown. So, and we didn't have a lot of money. So mom was about 260 pounds most of my life. I was always bullied about having big chunky thighs and. Oh, there is one more thing. I was very smart in school, and not your normal smart, but like kind of abnormally smart, where I found myself not being able to communicate with other kids. In fact, first grade, I got invited to Miss Galbo, my first grade teacher's wedding. Yeah, that's how much I hung out with my teacher. In second grade, Professor Kilroy, he was the principal of the school. I did linguistics with him, talked dinosaurs and Greek and Latin, you know, the roots of language. In fourth grade, presented my very first computer that my dad and I had built and the full-on schematics. Let me tell you something. So yes, I was smart, but I was also really ugly. And you know what that combination made for? Yes, a very lonely little girl. I didn't have a lot of friends. In fact, most of my time was spent when I wasn't studying, watching TV and movies. That was my great escape. And now looking back on it, yay for me. Because a couple of things happened. Without growing up with a lot of peers who would tell you what you can and cannot do, I didn't learn the rules. In fact, I was such a dreamer that I would tell these magnificent stories as though they were my own. I wanted to be James Bond. I wanted to snow ski and water ski and wear exotic clothes and travel and drive great cars and live this unbelievable life, anything from what I'd had. Now, not that I didn't have great loving parents, but we didn't have any money and we certainly had no taste and style. I had a very tiny little house with one bathroom. And I remember the plastic on the couches and Here's the crazy thing though, is I was never short of love. So I was a safe little girl. That's important to know. I've talked to so many kids who have been molested or hurt or challenged in so many ways that I did not have to deal with. Dad was a very nice dad who did not drink and didn't do drugs. His biggest craziness was that he was a magician and an inventor. And so I grew up doing magic tricks. I did my first professional magic show when I was 15 years old. And crazy inventions. It just made us the fairly odd family in the neighborhood. And then this smart thing, I ended up graduating high school a year early, and college, wow, by the time I got to college, I just couldn't conceive of why I wanted to be there. I ended up graduating with 2 degrees in 3 years. Most people do 1 in 4. And being a little bit of an outsider thinker, I just viewed the world differently. And I went off to, well, then there's one other thing. My dad had a horrific accident when I was in high school. He slipped and cut off the front of his hand, and he spent 3 years in the hospital. So not only was I now not really in school activities, but I spent most of my nights bringing my dad chocolate milkshakes and dinner in the hospital. Now, the crazy thing is, I'm recalling it though, is there was one really big house in my hometown. And it was right across the street from the orthodontist, which I saw every week. And you couldn't really see the house through the big cypress trees, but I knew it was there. And I got fixated on this house. Well, my dad's hospital room overlooked the house. I gotta tell you, the first time I saw it, it had that giant circular driveway. It was a red brick house with 2 massive chimneys. And I would just think about, what was it like to grow up in that house? What was it like at Christmas time to have real chimneys? And maybe at Halloween, they had full-size candy bars. And that stayed with me. So between James Bond and billionaire kind of thing, I went off to college to be a lawyer. And not because I wanted to be, but when you were smart and if you didn't like blood, those were the only 2 choices. You're going to be a doctor or a lawyer. I didn't even know really what a lawyer was or why I'd want to be one, but it seemed like a job. It seemed bigger than what my family had done. But I'd always had this love of acting. Yeah. And so even though we didn't have a lot of time in high school and all throughout my school, we did a lot of plays in school, a lot of musicals. And I always auditioned, and I can't sing. And I always got townsperson or third person from the left. I even had chorus. That was the big one. Chorus. Oh, you made the chorus. But in my head, I was so much more than that. Well, one day when my dad had this accident, my mom said, we have no money for college. And she said, but there's this pageant. And I'm like, Mom. She said, oh, no, don't worry. It's not a beauty pageant. It actually requires you to be smart. It's a written test, a talent, and a personality, and you have those. Kind of tough for a little girl to hear that, you know? Well, my dad's doctor also heard that, and he offered to fix my nose. Crazy, right? And all of a sudden, when the nose got fixed, the hair got cut a little bit, and I lost a little bit of weight, and I entered this competition. And that moment, people talk about defining moments. I remember walking in, there was a room of 500 girls, all wanting to, be on television with Bob Hope on NBC in the Miss Teenage America pageant. And I remember looking at my dad, and I had this moment where I thought, I could do something to save my family. I could win this. Okay, well, as luck would have it, I did score the highest on the written test you had to take, and it was an audition over a period of many, many weeks. And finally, I got crowned Miss Teenage New York and went off to Tulsa, Oklahoma to represent my state as Miss Teenage America. Not the greatest week when I got there, though. There was a lot of prejudice against coming from New York or whatever my religion was, or who knows what it was. It was a pretty bad week. And I went off to college thinking, okay, well, that acting thing might have been a fantasy. I should probably focus on education and doing my parents proud. And funny thing was, during school, the acting bug still kind of haunted me. In my senior year, I actually auditioned for the lead in Shakespeare's As You Like It, biggest play Shakespeare wrote for a female. Rosalind is a character who's on stage for 2.5 hours. And it was a coveted role. Well, anyway, I auditioned like I always did. I get to the call board and I'm looking at the bottom for my name and I'm not seeing it anywhere. And I had a moment, and maybe you've done this, where you're like, oh, really? Does nobody want me? Why would I even dream that big if I can't get it? And I remember that very clearly, because the next moment I looked at the very top to see who the lucky girl got Rosalind, and there was my name. I had a moment of, really? Really? And I went to the acting professor who was putting on the play and directing it. And I said, can you help me understand something? This is big, and I don't even know if I can do it. And he sat me down and he said, look, he said, you have so much depth and pain and skill at communication. And he just rattled off these things that only I thought of, like in my heart. Like, I don't think anyone else had ever seen this. Well, the crazy thing about Professor David Richmond is he was 100% legally blind. See, he wasn't looking at all the other things that everyone had always judged me on. He was actually looking at who I was really. The play was a success. I got great reviews. And I picked up the phone and called my parents and said, I love you very much. I know we scraped together the money to get me here, but I want to go to New York City and try being an actress. The best part about them was they didn't fight me on it. I was so scared to. They said, we can't help you a lot, but we're going to wish you the best and support you in any way we can. So I got to New York and I auditioned for, I read answered an ad in a newspaper. And it was to be a social secretary in a billionaire's home. Well, I kind of fit in with that little dream of overlooking the billionaire's house, or probably just millionaire. And I went and met Mr. and Mrs. Grace and their big 15-room apartment in the Upper East Side, and they liked me. I don't actually know why. I had very little skills, but who knows? They let me live in their home. I was in the maid's quarters, and I became their social secretary. And what this was a massive upfront mentorship in what it was to be a rich person. Stunning. I mean, including the story, we're driving in the car one day to the yacht club, and Mrs. Grace turns to me and said, oh, you need to get Louis Vuitton out of the trunk. And I said, Louis, who's in the trunk? And she looked at me and she said, oh, you'll learn. They had no kids, and basically they kind of adopted me for a little while. And we had dinners with barons and earls and princes, and I learned manners. I learned all kinds of things. And they thought it was cute that I was auditioning and I got a role in a soap opera. And even Mr. Grace drove me to my soap opera. They just thought I was cute. Who knows? All I know is I wanted to know more, and I did. And I got that world-class education up front and personal because it was something I wanted. So I'm going to ask you, as you're listening to this, what is something that you want? What are your dreams? What are you focused on? And please don't say, I don't know. See, in my world, if you say, I don't know, you close every door of possibility. I hate that phrase. In my classes, you are not allowed to say that. If you say, I don't know, you actually have to give my charity $10 because I want you to stop saying it. And it led to, I finally got my own place and auditioned and ended up on Broadway. And I did a lot of very unique things in New York in my 20s, primarily because nobody told me that I couldn't. And what I wanted was to be an actress. I wanted to be at the award ceremonies. I wanted to be at the Oscars. Now, this is another crazy thing. Talk about law of attraction and dream it, believe it, and achieve it, which is my motto. Even before I realized it was my motto, I wanted to go to the Academy Awards. That was something I was fixated on since the time I was a tiny little girl. Do you know, at 16, after I'd won my pageant, Barry Gordon called me. He was the only kid in our high school who went all the way over to California. I'm from New York. And he called me and said, would you be my date to the Academy Awards? I'm sorry, what? He said, yeah. He said, to be honest with you, I leveraged your title as Miss Teenage New York. I got us tickets and it's in a couple of weeks, so I'd like you to be here. That was just something I wanted. I got it. Actually, at that particular event, I got to meet lots of fun celebrities. I got to kiss John Travolta. Not that it was a big deal. I was just kind of staring at him and just dreaming that I could meet him. And this woman put her hand behind my back and said, you want to meet him? I'm thinking, yeah. And I think I walked up to him like, oh, he was Saturday Night Fever had just come out. And I was like, this little 16-year-old girl going, he's like, what do you want? And I think I just said, can I just kiss you? Oh, so what is it that you want and what keeps you from getting what you want? Now, there's a couple of rules with the Universal Manifestation Guide, and I'm going to share them with you. In fact, I have nailed this down so much we call it, okay, there's a word for wish, there's a word for dream, manifest, but what if you want those things and everyone else thinks you can't get it or you don't deserve it? We call that word Forbesing it. What have you Forbesed lately? And to Forbes something means to manifest it, especially when no one else thinks you should get it. Well, I Forbes things all over the place in my life, and I bet you have too. But when you actively start to Forbes things, bigger and better things come into your life on a regular basis. And if you're like me and all my students, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe all these amazing things are happening. So when I ask you what you want, the first that's probably going to come to mind is maybe financial freedom. Oh, well, I have the secret to that one. Ready? Financial freedom? Go get a cardboard box and live under a bridge. Totally financially free. No electric bill, no phone bill, no light bill. You're free. Oh, that's not what you wanted. Oh, you want more money. Okay, here's $1. You don't want it? Oh, because that's not but you said more money. Now you have $1 more money than you had a minute ago. Oh, that's not what you wanted either. So see how this game is played? We call it the Grubhub Principle. So if you call up Grubhub and say, hey, yeah, they say, what do you want? I'm hungry. They said, yeah, we know that's why you called us. What do you want? I want food. What do you want? Now, this is a lot of the way you guys ask for what you want. I think I want maybe a hamburger, or no, maybe I want Chinese. They hang up on you because you don't know what you want and they don't have time to waste. You never walk into a restaurant and go, hi, Ms. Waitress, just order anything because I don't really know what I want. You don't do that. You specifically know. In fact, I am so good at knowing what I want in a restaurant that I order it in my head before I get there. I can pretty much tell you when I go out to eat, I usually want grilled salmon, no starch, extra vegetable, salad with a dressing on the side, water, not a drink. How do I know all that? I know exactly what I want. Or you call, hey, Grubhub, yes, ma'am, what do you want? I would like a Caesar salad, extra chicken, croutons on the side. Bam, 20 minutes later, you know what's at your door? Caesar salad, extra chicken, croutons on the side. How did they know? Because you asked for it. And if a tuna sandwich shows up, you know you don't want that. So this clarity in knowing what you want, I think it takes practice. And I also think it takes a coach. I don't believe that many of you, and I've met a lot of you, can really articulate what you want until somebody pushes you a little bit to have the courage to be able to dream big enough to say, yeah, this is what I want. And it's not silly. I want $1 billion. You know, you don't want $1 billion. That's nice. We'd all like that. Have you made $1 million in a year? Because if you haven't, that's the first goal. Become a millionaire, become a half a millionaire. 500,000 for a lot of people is more money than they could imagine. Oh, wait, you want $10,000 a month passive income. That's a dream. But a dream is not enough to say, I just want to help people. I'm going to share with you, no matter what you do in life, you should be helping people. That's the point of what you do. And whatever it is, whether it's my handwriting analysis girl that I work with, or somebody who's written a book, or I've got all kinds of people who do things and they all help people. But you getting what you want, they actually tell you to put the mask on first when you're on an airplane if it's going down, because you've got to take care of you. So understanding what it is that you want and what you want on all the different levels, what you want personally and professionally and spiritually and emotionally. What do you want? What do you want your life to look like? So then we go, well, you could actually take pictures of it in the future. You could actually make a vision board. I find these things are very, very helpful. We also then have these couple of principles that we live by called the 5 strategies to uplevel your game. And the first one is the Grubhub, isolating what you want. The second one that's really important is, why do you want it? Why do you want it? Now, again, I prefer to do this in a class situation where I can actually push you. I have now surpassed more than 50,000 students in my career. It's pretty crazy. Most of them in person. I've spoken to audiences of 10,000 in a pop. But I like being the coach part. I still act and I enjoy that part of my life. To date, I just booked a new TV series and a movie. You can find me on Amazon Prime on a couple of movies. One that you'll get a kick out of right now is a Hallmark film called How to Train Your Husband. That's a very fun film. But if you go to IMDb, I have a long, long, long list. Remember when I moved to New York that first time? Well, I'll tell you what, not only did I ended up working for the Graces, but I landed the lead role in the first film I ever auditioned for, called Splatter University. Yeah, it's a 1980s cult horror film, slasher film, whatever. I had a blast. My 2 rules back then were no nudity and no sex in movies. Aside from that, we could do anything we wanted. And I did lots of movies. And I worked on Broadway with Christopher Reeve. I worked on Broadway a couple of times. I hosted The Laugh Factory. I've done stand-up comedy. I've done talk shows, game shows. I've done 189 infomercials. And you go, well, Forbes, how did you do all that? I just wanted it. I just kept moving forward saying, oh, that's the next thing I want. That's the next thing that I want. And the beautiful thing about life is that there's little wants along the way. If you treat people nice along the way, they tend to remember you. And so the world is a very small place. I just started doing a business with a woman that I met 10 years ago at an event I was speaking at. She had a picture of the 2 of us. She bought a spin gym, which is my fitness product. If you guys don't know what this is, I'll take a minute and tell you. And she said to me when we kind of got to this relationship, she said, you know, it's funny, Forbes, because when you did the whole I want exercise, she'd said that she wanted to work with Forbes Riley. Guess what? Kind of funny. What do you want? So I wanted to find a way to work out that was not hard to do. Okay. So let me play the game for you. That's what I want. I've been in the fitness industry for a long time. I've sold lots of different products. I helped launch a TV series called Fit TV, and that morphed into a lot of infomercials and almost 30 years of home shopping doing health and wellness and fitness products, right?
Well, that's the what. Now, remember when I said the why? Why do I do this? Well, I could say because I like being in shape, because it helps people. No, that's not the why. The why is a moment, is a thing that only you can have. It's very important when you identify this. So my why goes back to my early 20s when I took my mom, who was 260 pounds my whole life. She wore a size 24. And she was losing her health. She had diabetes and the most important woman on the planet to me at the time. And I made enough money and I bought her a year-long membership at the health club in my hometown. And I took her down there. I was so proud of myself. I spent a fair amount of money on this. We get to the doorway into the club and she's standing there like a horse. You kind of, I said, well, let's go. She said, I can't. I said, oh, yes, you can. We're going in. You got a membership. I can't go in. Like, what are you talking about? You can't. Mom, what are we doing here? And she started to cry. And she said, they're going to make fun of me. I don't know what to do. I've never been very physically active. I don't want to get hurt. And she read a whole list of limiting belief excuses. And she went to the car. And I had a moment where I thought about what had just happened. I was kind of mortified and stunned. And at that moment, I think I made a decision that says, I'm going to figure out ways to help her and people like her, because nobody deserves to suffer in their own body. People need to know and understand what food is, why we eat. Most of my eating in the early days was emotional. I really came to grips with that in my 20s as well. And I said, if I could create a handheld fitness products or things in the house that would allow you to be fit and feel amazing. And so for most of my career, the fitness products that I do are not geared towards gyms. They are geared toward home use. And when I found Spin Gym and created this whole brand, this whole lifestyle, I got to tell you, these are 60-year-old arms. I turned 60 this year. Without this thing, I would not have the flat tummy that I have. And I have a flat tummy after pushing out 2 7-pound twins at 42. Most women don't recover from that. That is one of the things and one of the missions that I had in life. And one of the things that's very important to me is a thing called permission. What does you get permission to do? And I granted myself permission to be excellent, to be amazing. Those are crazy little things to do, but most of you haven't granted yourself that. And I have a whole thing about permission. That's actually number 4 in the little book that I will be happy to give you as a free gift. Because I find so many of us don't believe that we have permission to leave the abusive husband, permission to go off on our own and not stay at the corporate job, permission to lose the last 25 pounds, permission to not eat dessert when grandma says, oh, you got to have some more pie at Christmas. That kind of permission. And I have been relentless to understanding how people then take permission away from us, how you grant it, how you deny it, how you get it. And this is a pattern. This is a technique that I teach now so that you can tell me whatever it is you want and we can get you to go get it. In the last 8 weeks, one of my girls, she's a clutter expert. I said she needed a book. I gave her permission to write one. In the last 8 weeks, she's now literally launching a book 8 weeks later. Most people, it takes what? My last book took 3 years to come out. Sometimes do what I do and not what I tell you to do. My new book called One Habit for Entrepreneurial Success, we actually put together in 24 hours. That's right. I reached out. I got 50 authors to say yes to this, and we closed the whole deal. And that's coming out. That'll be out October 16th on Amazon. It's already hit Amazon #1 bestseller. What do you want? Now, a couple of things. So I go back to my dad and being a magician and this whole art of pitching. So getting what you want, when you figure it out, the next step is how do you communicate it to other people, right? We call that pitching. And a pitch is a one-sided conversation designed to get a yes. And if you don't really understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to invite you to come every Sunday for $19. I do a 2-hour masterclass called WWW Pitch Secrets Masterclass. I'll give you information about that. You'll find it somewhere. But it's the most wonderful 2 hours you'll ever spend. And in that class, I teach you how to make money like that. Everybody in the class, I want you to make money. I want you to understand that being broke or not being able to afford something is not interesting to me at all. So I've created systems that you can make money. It's crazy. Almost everybody in my life makes money. And I say almost because if you don't do it, it doesn't work. If you sit home going, I just want money to rain on me. No, you put a little bit of work into it, but it's crazy. I mean, I'm writing checks to people all over the place, $300 to $500 a week just by being part of our world. And that's a promise that I don't think many people offer. I'll teach you the skill and send you out to go do it. And nothing makes me happier than you go, all right, now I have free time. Now I can take classes with you. Now I can enjoy life a little bit more. That's what money is. Put your hand up and grab some. It's abundant. It's everywhere, unless you don't believe that it's everywhere. Aha. So a couple of things. Let me try something with you. All right. So pitching is about helping people get what they want. And that, and at any level, you can't ever tell people what they need. That's what so many of you guys do. You tell people what you think they want instead of what you think they need. I'm actually trying to find my timer to make sure that I don't go over, because I've been known to talk for 4 hours. And as much as I know you're falling in love with me, I want to make sure the timer is working. Well, there it is. Wait, timer. Okay, stopwatch. Resume. Okay, I did hit the wrong button. Back to me for a second. Okay, don't you love that we can just be together completely virtually, but completely real? So pretend for a second, I'm going to tell you a little story. I went to a business training a couple of weekends ago, learned some great things, but while I was there, I actually lost 6 pounds. Now you're going to go, what are you thinking? You're thinking, how did she do it? You're thinking probably, how did she do it? Well, how did I know what you were thinking? What if I said to you, hey, do you want to see something cool? Odds are you're going to go, yes. How did I know that? Because there's a psychology that's always in place. And if you want to sell more, enroll more, get people to like you more, you're going to start by giving them what they want. Now, I'm going to tell you, y'all need a spin gym. Everybody needs a spin gym. Sitting at a Zoom desk, I will tell you what, it is the most amazing thing. But you're like going, I don't know if I need it or not. But here's what I will tell you. As a woman, lift up your arm. Everybody pick your arm up. Pick your arm up, not a joke. Do this to it. Is it kind of flabby? Is it kind of saggy? Yeah. Or is it nice and tight? Mine's pretty tight. Yeah. Not perfect, but it's good. What if I told you, you do this thing for 5 minutes a day? Literally 5 minutes while you're sitting on a Zoom and you can't do much more than that? Oh, feels so good. And that's going to get tight and toned. You want this now? And in fact, they come in all different colors. That is what it is. It's called spingym.com. And on a very select few, I actually wrote some words that inspire me. I wrote faith and believe and courage, because now sitting on my desk, it's not only a fitness product, but it serves to inspire me and everybody who's got a spin gym. You want one now? Okay, so here's what I did. I didn't actually sell you a spin gym. You sold you a spin gym. That's the secret. That's the secret to selling $2.5 billion worth of product. Now, here's the other crazy thing. I don't sell one-to-one. I sell one through a camera. In fact, on Home Shopping, HSN and QVC, but HSN is my big one now, I sold average 10,000 of these in one day. And my best day, it's called the Today Special, 64,000 spin gyms in 24 hours. I don't even know how we really did that. No, I guess I do. I'll tell you what. And if you go on YouTube and you watch the pitch, you can go to, I guess if you could just type in HSN and spin gym, you'll see that over the period of time, how I architected the pitch. Because I can't ask you questions. I don't actually sit in your house, but I kind of know what you're thinking. One of the things you might be thinking is, is this for everybody? Am I too old to use it? Well, it goes between 4 and 24 pounds of resistance. So it's good for people who are a little older. It's good for people who are super fit. I've got a super fit man in my house and he loves doing it. Oh, do I have to use just my thumbs? No. In fact, if you got arthritis, you don't have to use any fingers at all. It works that way. Oh, wow. Is it like a resistance band? Not at all. In fact, the way this thing spins, and I can show you science when you're actually watching the program, is it spins at 125,000 RPM, which is completely different from any dumbbell, any resistance, and I'll tell you, you feel it through your entire body. So, and then I will show you a thermal of somebody's body heating up after just 5 minutes. So in my mind, what I've done is I've answered all these objections. Even though I haven't met you, I know you before I meet you. Do you know your customer before you meet them? Right. You've got a product, a service, an idea. What does your customer want? And are you the one to fill that want? When you do that, I guarantee your sales will explode. Now, there's a couple of other things I've learned, especially as we're going through this crazy lockdown time, to reach out and be part of a community. To that end, you're part of this summit, which is amazing. I created an online Facebook group called Forbes Riley's Inner Circle, completely free. Mostly entrepreneurs, mostly students of mine who I have trained to help each other. Yeah, I have this great philosophy about a rising tide lifts all boats. So all of a sudden, the students that have gone through some of my trainings are now on podcasts, on summits, have books, living great lives. Why? Because that's what I'm all about. That's what I've always been about. And now because of being locked in your house for so long, I've had a lot more time to architect amazing trainings, to spend time working with people. I teach class 6 nights a week right now. It's pretty extraordinary because I figured this out, that I was traveling almost 2 months a year. And when I travel, I sleep a lot. I sleep on airplanes, whether it's a 4, 6, or 11-hour flight to London. I would sleep. I didn't get anything done. I wasted so much time. The 2 hours of sitting in the airport, the hour in the Uber ride, the time change, the horrible food. I don't do that right now. And my productivity went through the roof. So maybe you want to go, instead of complaining about all of this, oh, life is terrible because of COVID. No, there's a lot of people whose businesses are exploding. And I would invite you to be one of those. Yeah, it's not exploding if you own a boutique store and you're only one store because there's no foot traffic right now. I get that. But what's preventing you from being online? Oh, I don't know how to be online. Aha. Well, that's why I have 2 17-year-olds. I win. I will tell you. I don't think my life would look at all at 60 like it does without 2 17-year-olds who have endless energy. And my daughter is an internet genius. In fact, she teaches a training to other adults called Marketing with McKenna. There's so many people. She's got hundreds of students, just like you guys, who want to understand how to build funnels, how to write better copy, how to build back-end database systems, how to, I mean, it goes on. And she's genius at it. So it's very much fun to hang out with her. And again, she teaches and she's happy to coach any of you guys. I love this. It's just taken everything to a whole nother level. And so the other thing in this book is about beginning with the end in mind. What is it that you want from all of this? What is it that makes you happy? And by the way, that's a huge thing. What makes you happy? And making money is great. Working hard is great. Having a family is great. What is this balance? What is it that works for you? For me, what makes me happy is communicating ideas that most people never thought of before. I love seeing that expression on your face going, oh, wow, I never realized that, because I've always been such an out-of-the-box thinker that when I can communicate some of these ideas that I've been holding inside for so long, one of them is how you say your name, how you present yourself. So most of you go, hi, my name is, nice to meet you. Oh, wow. What's her name? See, there's no money in nice to meet you, but you didn't make your name important at all. I'll tell you what, when you change that one little thing, remember, I have this philosophy that if you just change one thing, like a sailboat going off course 1 degree, over time it ends up in a very, very different place. Oh, I seem to have frozen. Did I freeze? Uh-oh, that would not be good. Oh,